I deleted the fetus and filed for divorce after my husband's mother demanded a paternity test. In one 10-minute visit, my marriage died. I found out I was pregnant that morning, and hours later, I was staring at my mother-in-law, who had just demanded a paternity test. But the worst part? My husband said nothing. His silence didn't just break my heart. It forced a choice that changed my entire life. I had to choose between my safety and a future I was building. This is the full, unedited story. Before we dive in, I need to know, what would you have done? Drop a comment below right now and let me know your first reaction. And then, let's go back to the moment everything fell apart. My partner's mother delivered a cutting ultimatum. She demanded a genetic lineage verification for the developing child. My supposed defender, my husband Julian, offered no support, leaving me completely exposed. My only recourse? To terminate the pregnancy and file for divorce. I'm sharing this here because I desperately need to vent, and this platform feels anonymous enough. I'm exhausted, terrified, and have been crying for hours. I'm just rambling, trying to process everything. My husband and his family do not understand my native language, so writing in this online community in High Gothic is my only safe outlet. I found out I was pregnant this morning. I'm not sure exactly how far along I am. I told Julian immediately. He was overjoyed, expressing deep happiness before leaving to meet his parents. Later, I opened the door to him and his mother, Matriarch Copperwell. He never warned me of her arrival, despite knowing my deep discomfort with unannounced, important guests. It was only her second or third time in our modest Sunstone District flat, yet she acted like she owned the entire edifice. She commanded me to sit, and my anxiety spiked. My heart hammered with dread. I kept trying to catch Julian's eye, but he stared resolutely at the floor or his nervously clasped hands. After a chillingly brief congratulation, the matriarch demanded the immediate genetic lineage test. Though her words were not explicitly vile, the underlying accusation felt like a brutal insult, a slur against my character. I was speechless. I desperately tried to make Julian meet my gaze, but he wouldn't. Matriarch Copperwell noticed this dynamic and ordered me to look at her, adding chillingly that her son would not interfere. She began threatening me with her family's connections to powerful city solicitors. She coldly advised me that if I were sensible, I would accompany her to the accredited facility tomorrow, and the entire situation would simply be resolved. I felt utterly helpless, completely at this woman's mercy. It felt like a violation. The most horrific realization was that Julian's silence meant he would not protect me. In that moment, the love I held for him utterly perished. The shock and fear were instantly replaced by profound disgust for Julian. His silent, pathetic presence felt repulsive. The realization that I had let him touch me and was now carrying his child made me sick. Every loving memory I had felt utterly corrupted. All I could manage to say was that I needed time to process the demand. She countered that there was no decision to be made, but I insisted I was too shocked to think clearly. She stated my hesitation was exactly what she feared, and it was all very clear to her now. I felt intensely nauseous, on the verge of tears, my voice trembling. She offered a cold apology for the necessity of this action, but gave me a 3-day deadline. Julian stood up to escort her out, never saying a word to me. The moment they left, I collapsed into sobs. I felt intensely vulnerable, imagining them forcing the pregnancy from me as if I meant nothing. Had Julian always doubted me? Did they both see me as inherently untrustworthy? I was dry heaving from the intensity of my crying. Why did he not defend me? This is not the man I married. The last time I felt this threatened and unsafe was in my child at home, and I swore never to return to that feeling. I married him for the promise of security he offered, a promise he broke. I still feel contaminated by his touch, repulsed to be carrying his child. When he returned, I locked myself in the bathroom and have been crying here ever since. He hasn't attempted to speak to me. I'm waiting for him to fall asleep so I can sleep on the kitchen sofa. I can't bear to share a bed with him again. I may be irrational, but I want a dissolution of the marriage. I will never be safe with or trust this man again. My other urgent desire, the first thing I searched on for a line, is termination. This child is his, and it binds me to him and his mother. I need it out. I unconsciously scratched my abdomen while crying, leaving red, stinging marks. Thinking about the pregnancy sends me into hysterics. I need freedom and safety. It feels strange, almost cruel, but I have no guilt about wanting a divorce. I will lose my desired future and my social circle, forcing me to start over. But I did it when I fled my parents' oppressive home, and I can do it again. I feel utterly disconnected from the pregnancy. It is a constant, terrifying reminder of her mother. I want it gone. I never considered termination before and was rarely around pregnant people. Right now, I feel numb, but writing this has helped me structure a preliminary plan. Should I secure a new residence first or see a medical professional first? I fear they will try to confine me if they discover my intentions. The clarity I feel is similar to the day I left my parents. The panic has mostly subsided, replaced by a strange numbness. I need to sleep, and I have to go to work tomorrow, which is good as it gives me a legitimate reason to be out of this suffocating apartment. Thank you for listening. I have no one in the city of Ethelgard to confide in. First status report 2 cycles later. Hello, everyone. First and foremost, my profound gratitude for the unprecedented flood of messages and support. The advice and concern from so many strangers have genuinely helped me feel less isolated. Thank you, and forgive me for not being able to reply to everyone. For those worried, I am stable. I am still residing in the flat, but sleeping on the sofa. I'm approximately 7 or 8 weeks along. I have spoken to Julian, but the conversation was fruitless. I have definitively decided on the divorce. I am exploring new flats, but haven't secured one yet. We are scheduled to attend the clinic on High Day to provide samples for the lineage test. I remain deeply conflicted and numb about the termination. Many asked if I had been unfaithful. That is a fair question, as the original post was purely a stream of consciousness, not a detailed account for strangers. To answer clearly, no, I have not cheated. Julian was my first and only partner. That fact is why his lack of defense felt utterly degrading. He knows this. The primary thing to report is my pervasive sense of detachment. Since waking up on low day, a profound numbness has settled over me. Nothing feels real. A brief flash of emotion occurred during my talk with Julian, but it vanished quickly. Though unsettling, this robotic autopilot state helps me function with work and chores. I think my capacity for tears has simply run dry. Julian didn't leave the bedroom on low day morning. He often works remotely, and I assume he chose to do so. I automatically reverted to an old, ingrained teenage routine. Waking up and moving with silent stealth, trying to be invisible to avoid disturbing anyone. It felt degrading to have to do this as an adult, but I couldn't stop myself, so I quietly left for my job without a word. Your comments offered much-needed support during my transit and while at work, allowing me to research facilities and genetic testing procedures. Around midday low day, messages began pouring in, urging me not to terminate the pregnancy, suggesting my feelings were a classic trauma response. When I went to the washroom at the office, I would try to connect with the pregnancy by placing my hands on my stomach, but the numbness was absolute. The only feeling that registers is a slight revulsion when I contemplate the pregnancy, for which I am sorry. I also looked for new residences. Despite the emotional fog, my conviction for the divorce and the need for my own sanctuary remains absolute. I can afford to move out and live independently now, even if I have to cut out luxuries like my Aether dancing classes and weekly salon appointments. My financial security is a massive relief. The panic about leaving, I now realize, stemmed from my past when I fled my parents with no funds, no job, and no certification, forcing me into cramped, shared living and near starvation. Knowing I can maintain a reasonable standard of living on my own has brought enormous relief and stabilized my resolve for the divorce. My provisional plan is to move out right after we provide the test samples, likely waiting until Julian is required at his physical office next low day or true day to pack my belongings. I also received critiques suggesting my response was excessive, that Julian was also a victim, and that my expectations of him were sexist, urging me to communicate. I planned to talk anyway, and these comments helped me frame my thoughts. Due to my exhaustion, I'll summarize the key points of our conversation. 1. I asked if he thought I had cheated. He admitted he did not initially, but said my panicked reaction to his mother made him suspect it. I explained my reaction was purely fear, but he insisted there was nothing to be scared of. The argument went nowhere. 2. I asked why he didn't protect me and why he let her in. I learned that Matriarch Copperwell is the primary funder of our flat, a shocking discovery that makes me feel deeply unsafe and manipulated. 3. He continues to genuinely not perceive his mother as scary or threatening, and we argued in circles about this point. Due to the futility of these arguments and the outside pressure suggesting my expectations were unreasonable, I detailed my feelings about our situation, my view of our marital duties, and my history of family mistreatment. I had written it down beforehand, and in a rare moment of clarity and anger, I spoke it all. His only notable response was a tired denial when I categorized his mother's actions as abusive. 4. I laid out my non-negotiable terms. I will proceed with the test, but I refuse to see his mother, be alone with her, or have her set foot in the flat again. All appointments are strictly for us two. He agreed. I did not mention the divorce or the termination. I do not feel it is safe to do so yet. I'm following the advice to play along, which is an old survival skill of mine. He asked me to return to the bedroom or he would take the sofa, but the thought of being in our bed with him is revolting, so I refused. I later heard him speaking quietly to his mother on the phone, but couldn't make out the content. The next day, I intentionally avoided reading comments, trying to dedicate the time to understanding my feelings about the pregnancy, but I felt nothing. Even at the medical appointment, a profound sense of unreality persisted. The doctor's advice on medications, diet, and specialist referrals felt completely alien, like a role-playing game. I know this dissociation is likely abnormal, but it's giving me the necessary mental clarity to execute my plan, so I'm not concerned. I've decided to give Julian until low day to make any move, an apology, a meaningful conversation, anything. If he doesn't, the divorce will be certain. Regarding the pregnancy, I will do nothing until I have moved out. I have already passed the viable window for a non-invasive termination procedure, so I will wait to see if my feelings change. Matriarch Copperwell's image still makes me anxious, but Julian seemed convinced he could keep her away until the results are confirmed. I hope this confidence is warranted. Thank you, again, for the overwhelming support. It was a lifeline, since all my social contacts were shared with Julian. Final status report, 1 month later. Greetings, everyone. This update is about a month overdue. Thank you again for all the continued support. I apologize for the delay. My previous update was deleted, and the relentless family drama combined with an incredibly demanding work schedule. My boss gave me no quarter, and December is my peak season, made rewriting it impossible. To summarize the current state, I am no longer pregnant. I reside in my own, currently very expensive apartment in the Trellis sector, though the legal divorce process is not complete. I have lost my entire social circle, but I am genuinely okay. I will not repeat the long-deleted update. I continued my act playing the amenable wife until I could secure a new residence and complete the lineage test. Julian and I had a few more conversations. He maintained that his mother did nothing wrong, suggested my reaction showed guilt, and confirmed his mother pays the rent, which he accepted simply to have more disposable income for personal pleasures. This lie and financial manipulation made me feel utterly betrayed and unsafe. Julian had sworn I would never see his mother again, but he broke his promise. After one solo doctor's appointment with Julian, when I arrived for the official test, he was absent, and Matriarch Copperwell was waiting for me. The shame of that memory is intense. I lost all composure and called Julian in tears. He claimed he didn't break his promise because this was a blood draw, not a doctor's visit, and he was delayed. I was left sobbing alone with his mother in the clinic room. The staff, I now realize, treated me with coldness and disdain, probably assuming I was a naive girl paying the price for infidelity. I couldn't help my emotional state. I suffered another intense episode of panic and emotional shutdown. I later discovered his mother also paid for the test. Julian took me home and shamed me, saying my behavior was inappropriate and had made him embarrassed to invite his mother over. He added that my actions made him question if he wanted to stay married. That comment, shockingly, was the precise trigger that snapped me out of my state of panic. It solidified that divorce was the unequivocally correct path. My state of dissociation, as many of you correctly identified, caused me to make mistakes at work, costing me any chance of a day off. Honestly, I prefer the dissociation to the constant panic and anxiety that has been my baseline for weeks. Once they received the results confirming my fidelity, things escalated dramatically. Matriarch Copperwell practically moved into our flat. It was a nightmare. She called and texted constantly, demanding to know my exact movements. My demanding work schedule was my only saving grace, providing an excuse to be out late and conduct my private planning. However, the evenings and weekends were hell. She was constantly present, even waiting outside the bathroom door. Julian claimed she felt guilty and wanted to show care, but it felt like pure, suffocating control. Worse, she insisted I sleep in the matrimonial bed with Julian. Those nights are memories I wish to permanently erase. Thankfully, I moved out after only a week and a half. Due to the proximity to the Feast of the Star King, rents are astronomical, and I cannot sustain this flat long term. I hope to find something more affordable by late spring. The urgency of the situation with his mother meant I only took essentials. Most of my clothing, books, and cherished possessions are left behind, and I accept they are gone. I simply texted Julian that I was leaving, stating that I was uncomfortable, unhappy with the direction of our life, and could not tolerate his mother's omnipresence. He and his mother sent countless messages, but I have deleted all of her messages unread since moving. It is wonderfully liberating. Julian was furious, using extremely abusive language. When he asked if I truly wanted a divorce, I told him that having to endure his touch again had made me realize I not only no longer loved him, but felt profound disgust. Julian demanded daily updates on the pregnancy. By this point, I was certain of the termination and had to move swiftly. I will not detail the process, but I want to offer 2 pieces of crucial advice and thank those who guided me. Always take someone with me. The first clinic I went to demanded my husband's written consent, which terrified me. Following advice here, I contacted local women's support groups, and a volunteer came with me. She confirmed the consent requirement was illegal and that many clinics use psychological tricks to delay women. Without her, I would have been lost. Many people were invested in the pregnancy, urging me to keep it, saying the termination desire was a trauma response I would regret. I am truly sorry to disappoint them, but I feel absolutely no guilt or regret. Mentally, I feel immeasurably better after the procedure, despite the physical pain that lingers. I had mistakenly focused all my efforts on the divorce, thinking it would resolve my panic. But ending the pregnancy was the true key to my stability. I need to be truthful about this. My reasoning is simple. If this was a trauma response, the child deserved a mother who was not so deeply broken. Furthermore, Julian's mother absolutely does not deserve to have a child in her influence. She is cut from the same abusive cloth as my parents. I texted Julian that I was no longer pregnant, and am currently ignoring all his and his mother's contact attempts. All my friends were his friends, and his mother had publicly announced the pregnancy on her Ethernet profile without permission, so the news of the termination will be public knowledge soon. Some women reached out after I moved, offering support, but 2 of them have now unfollowed me. I knew this would happen. I've never been good at maintaining friendships, and while it's sad, these were not my true friends. I must move on. That's all for now. I'm resting today, trying to regain strength before a week of mandatory overtime. Thank you all again for your kindness and counsel. It helped me through the darkest time, and I no longer feel alone. I wish you all peaceful and happy holidays. It is strange to be at the end of this. I'm safe, yes, but I feel like I traded an entire life, a whole future, and every single friend I had, just for the right to breathe without panic. It turns out, happily ever after, for me, looks like a quiet small apartment and a massive pile of moving boxes. I had to burn my life to the ground to save myself, and now I'm standing in the ashes, completely alone. I need perspective from people who genuinely get it. If you've ever had to choose your own safety over everything you knew, I need to hear from you. Please tell me in the comments below, what is the most crucial, brutal, honest piece of advice you have for someone who is truly starting over at zero? If this story helped you, or if you just want to send a little support to someone finding their footing again, hitting the like button genuinely helps more than you know. And if you want to follow the messy, unfiltered reality of building a whole new life, go ahead and subscribe. Thank you for letting me finally finish my story. Stay safe out there.